There's war going on in this world. A war on freedom.
He's acting outside of his authority by saying you can't put something that you want in your own body. That's your own personal choice, and can't nobody take that from you, you know?
You're one of these taxpayers, and these are all your documents, and this is how we're going to rob you. It's fucked up, man.
It's more war, it's more spending, it's more debt, and it's less freedom.
We don't do that here.
Some people think that you can't be radical and pragmatic.
This is what we need, is a pragmatic radicalism, not moderation. Hardcore radicalism, but smart shit.
It's not sitting in a fucking basement with a bunch of fucking nerds.
You don't know shit, and that's the thing. You have to talk to people who think differently than you.
Like, his focus is not how horrible the government is, it's how wonderful liberty and freedom are.
That's what drives us.
People are coming together more and more and more and more as the government has been failing us.
We're just getting started.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fight Club. The rules here are different than any other fight club you've ever heard of because we tell everyone about this. So if you don't already, subscribe to the channel, share this video. We have an awesome, very important episode for you guys today that might help decide the future of the very Libertarian Party. So you definitely should share this and make sure that as many people can be interacting in the comments as possible while we do this. First, before we get into it all, we're going to talk about the people that pay the bills, our wonderful sponsors over at Nugg of Knowledge. You guys probably know Dan Berman. He's like the coolest dude on the planet, and he's got this awesome cannabis company, and you can help support him, the network, the channel, and everything by going to nuggofknowledge.com, and you can use promo code FSM. You get 10% off your first purchase, and that's how it actually helps the network, so definitely do that. Yeah. We'd really appreciate it. But today we've got a very special show. We're doing a debate for the chair of the Libertarian National Committee. So without further ado, we're going to bring these people on up here. First, we have Mr. Tony D'Orazio and Ms. Angela McArdle. Welcome to the show, y'all.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dave. This is always fun.
All right, so we're gonna start off. I'll go with the order that they are here. Angela, opening statements.
Oh, just jump right in. Okay.
Let's just jump right in.
Okay. So I'm not here to sell you on a quick top 3 issues platform. I think this is much more than that. I'm here to explain my vision for the Libertarian Party and explain how we can turn the dysfunctional LNC into a functional organization so that we can work effectively to accomplish my vision for the LP and bring about a freer world in our lifetime. We have the most beautiful political philosophy in existence. And my vision is to mold us into a party that demonstrates that philosophy, puts it into action, and that people will value and trust. A party that inspires people to cast off their ideological shackles, that demonstrates the value of our beautiful organization, that resonates with people's values and reflects our innate human desire for freedom. We challenge the cult of the omnipotent state. That's what it says in our statement of principles. We're so small, but we're mighty. We're like David throwing a stone in the face of Goliath. And it's a shame that philosophy doesn't get translated better by our political party. For decades, people have argued over what the purpose of the party is. Is it to win elections or to spread the message of liberty? Why not both? Why can't it be both? We want to see a freer world, but not everyone in the LP agrees on how we should reach our goal. So how do we work within our given situation to achieve the broader goals of most of the people who are hard workers in the party? And here's what we do. We amplify the voices of people who are running bold messaging campaigns. People like Shane Hazel, so that we can help the people who want to have bold messaging campaigns. We can meet their needs, right? And then we can also meet the needs of people who want to run serious elections. It's strategic planning. This is something the LNC does not do currently. One of the first things that we're going to do when I'm elected chair is adopt a 2-year strategic plan that builds out our long-term future while also meeting our short-term needs. It'll be easily implemented again at the next 2-year cycle and easily modified for the next LNC or the chair who comes after me if they need to pivot and make some adjustments. Strategic plan will treat our goals like bowling pins. As you knock the first pin over, it knocks the next pin over and the next. In order for any of this to work, though, we have to have a functional LNC, which we have not had during the last year, definitely. And, it's been very shaky in some previous years. So let me break down how that will work and what it will actually look like. It's important for the chair, me, to be able to work with other members of the committee. And the committee members have to be able to work with each other as well. And there are several components to that. Part of my job as national chair begins very early on, right? To suss out other people running for LNC positions that are collaborative, responsible candidates who will work well together. A big part of it is having committee members who are ideologically aligned and trust each other. So when we don't have that second element, trust, it's my job to fill in the gaps, help our board members build trust with each other, and move forward together with our planning. And that's not happening right now at the national level. We have to create a valuable organization, but then we also have to demonstrate our value if we want to push forward our plan. So think about it in these terms. Take, for example, Shane Hazel. Shane's campaign for governor created a national controversy, which enabled him to get our message out in front of a lot of people. It's the same when he ran previously. This is the kind of campaign that the national party needs to get behind. Shane has a very bold message, but it's tempered by an emotionally charged personal story of libertarianism and being a veteran, right? And it ties into a global hot issue right now, war. His campaign is highly controversial because Georgia is a swing state, and Georgia is also struggling with some really crappy ballot access laws. So Shane's campaign touches on several major pain points and important issues for us. Timely issues like war, ballot access, outreach to the left and to the right. Being a veteran, you can do that, and it gets national attention. Because everything that we do, every statement we make at the national level, it should be calculated to move us forward in the direction of liberty. And I'm skilled enough in planning and leadership to make a strategic plan like this actually happen and to drive it forward and to get everybody on board and to have people feel confident about it. And that's what we desperately need right now. We need for people to feel confident in the party again so that we can work together to achieve a freer world in our lifetime. And that's why I'm running for chair.
All right. I dig it. We're starting off strong. Mr. Tony, your opening statements.
Thank you, David. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tony D'Orazio. I'm the former chair of the Libertarian Party of New York. I am the current first vice chair and the current communications director. I have a plan to lead the LNC from the front. A little bit about me and my experience and how it applies to our current national situation. When I became chair of the New York Party, I adopted a party that was fractured, to say the least. There were two sets of parties. There were two groups who were claiming ownership of the Libertarian Party. David remembers this because
I'm a little on an insider of this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to give you flashbacks, David, but I had to do it. As chair, I worked with both of those groups, and we went into a convention for the most part united. We organized in a united manner. We're now able to support candidates better. We just in New York put up our strongest slate of statewide candidates that we've ever had, and I'm feeling very confident about that. I have a plan to put libertarian principles in front. We are a party that is we are a political party that is primarily tasked to support candidates and win elections, and we need to do that. But because we are a party of principle and not just direction, left or right, we are also something of an educational organization. So we need to make sure that we have clear, concise, simple messaging coming from national. Simple messaging that can be adapted by states, by state affiliates, by local affiliates to match up with their local, whatever might be happening locally. I've already told you that I was the glue that helped bring New York back together. I'd like to be that glue to bring the national party back together. We're all libertarians. We all have one enemy, and it's the cult of the omnipotent state, and also pronouncing the word omnipotent.
It's a struggle.
It is a struggle. Struggle's real. We need to be focused on the state and not on each other. We are the third largest political party in the country. But to say that, the number one and number two are like Walmart and Target, two behemoths, and we are the little lemonade stand sitting right outside trying to sell our lemons, our delicious lemons. We need to not be throwing the lemons at each other. We need to be throwing them at Walmart and Target and selling more and selling them to people because our lemons are the best. Also, lemons are delicious. Lemonade is delicious. I did say that we need to support candidates and win elections. That is our primary job. We need to focus the resources of the Libertarian Party nationally on elections nationwide that help us retain our ballot access and help us go into the future. By gaining these elected libertarians, we're also going to grow our membership. We're going to grow our coffers. We're going to increase our fundraising. And I'm going to spend the last little bit of time talking about the most exciting and sexy part of my platform, risk management and mitigation. We need to make sure that we're set up to grow, not necessarily as a grassroots organization, but as a professional organization who can compete with the Walmarts and Targets of the world from our little lemonade stands, because we have the tools and we have these skills directed properly to compete with them. Thank you.
All right. So I've had the wonderful benefit of getting to see both of you guys. Well, I've seen Tony in action significantly more, but I've gotten to be in the sphere of the Mises Caucus and see the work that you've done as well, Angela, and get to appreciate a hell of a lot of both of you, the time and effort that you guys have put into this movement. And so I am going to enjoy the rest of this debate because I like you guys both a lot. And I'm still undecided. Actually, I'm not a delegate. You guys, New York just picked their delegates. I'm not a delegate, so I don't have to decide. I just get to go and have fun with everyone. But other people watching, unfortunately, have to decide between you two. So my first question is for both of you guys. What is the largest group, organization, or company that you've successfully run? And we'll start with Tony and then Angela this time.
That's a great question. Outside of the Libertarian Party of New York, I've acted as a CIO for a number of colleges and universities. I'm a CIO consultant, so a virtual CIO, if you will. So what I do is I go into organizations, colleges and universities primarily. I walk in a leadership role. I help them find their put together a strategic plan, make sure that they are focused on their mission, which is education. The largest one of those I've led was an institution of about 18,000 students, and we had an organization of about 40 IT folks. And of course, the Libertarian Party of New York with its 20,000 libertarians.
You're muted, David, I think.
Thank you. Nice job, Tony. Angela?
So what are the largest organizations I've led? I've been secretary in the California State Party, which is the largest state party in the country. I chair LA County's LP, which is the 9th largest affiliate, including state affiliates in the country. We hover around 250 members on average. There are about 30,000 registered libertarians in LA County. I am currently chairing LA's anti-mandate initiative, and there are about 10 people on our organizational team. I don't actually have a total count of our volunteers, but this is a Southern California-wide led effort, and there are 4 million voters and 4 million people in the city of LA. About half of them are voters. I chair the California Mises Caucus PAC. There are about 400 members in that organization. I am on the National Mises Caucus board. I don't actually know how many members we have at the national level. I have been a team lead with Los Angeles Food Not Bombs, which probably had on average about 50 volunteers. That's a left-leaning, like a left anarchist organization in LA. And I've done plenty of, this is a random one. Here's a random Angela fact.
Okay.
I was a team lead with a small animal rescue in greater Southern California called the Burrow that focused on rabbits and chinchillas for about 8 years. So I ran the feedings and adoptions out of a Petco and convention adoptions as well. That was a long time ago.
That's adorable.
Right?
I'm just picturing young Angela with a chinchilla.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Well, just for you, Tony. What did you learn most from inheriting the clusterfuck that was the New York State Party?
I learned a whole lot about disaster management. I walked into, I believe the word you used was clusterfuck. I would have called it a shitstorm. It was messy, to say the least. There were a lot of emotions on all sides, and I learned a lot how to listen to people, just letting them vent. Learned a lot how to very quickly assess the situation, and had to learn how to lead an organization of conflict in a hurry. There was no one else to lead the organization. It had to be done. So that's what I learned.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, that was an interesting scenario. That was when I joined New York. Was pretty much in the middle of all of that. Was when I started to get active. So my first experience with the Libertarian Party was a significantly more brutal civil war than even what we're kind of seeing go on at national right now in some ways. So that was like my intro to the party. So as far as like what's going on this year, it doesn't even really bother me that much. It's just like, this is just par for the course at this point.
I mean, maybe that's why I have my attitude about it too. I've seen war in New York, and that was rough.
Mm-hmm.
And we got through it. We were able to get through it. I was able to guide us through it, and we're a much stronger party for it. I feel like National's heading the same way.
All right. Next question for both of you guys. What is your ideal role for a vice chair? And how do you plan on cultivating that working relationship, depending on who is elected and how that ends up actually working out? Angela, you want to take this one first?
Yeah. So ideally, the vice chair is someone who assists the chair and is more like a chief officer of operations. It's like a COO role. So that means that you are involved with actually making sure that the plans that we put forward are implemented, that you understand strategic planning and how to move a project forward, that you know how to close a project, that you know how to delegate and basically work closely with me. I'm already working pretty closely with Eric Rodsep, and I have had some pretty good chats with every single person that I know who's running for vice chair, except for Joe Hopman, because I think he announced, I only heard about it right before California's convention. So I think that a really important thing for anybody who's running for chair to do is to actually go out and talk with other people who are running and get everybody on the same page. Otherwise, when you don't do that, then you end up with what we have currently.
That's a very good point. Tony, what's your opinions on the vice chair role?
I believe that the vice chair role is largely an operational role, one who should be focused on the boring stuff, the behind the scenes. You think we talk about operations like they're boring things. This is the plumbing that keeps the party going. Nobody thinks about the janitor or the chief janitorial officer. But if they weren't working, we would have a whole lot of trouble pooping. I'm all about the fecal analysis tonight, apparently. So I need somebody by my side who is going to be focused on the operations, who can help make sure that the party keeps running. In addition, I'm going to need them to have some leadership qualities, because there are going to be times when I have to hand them the gavel. Because there are going to be times when I am embroiled in an argument with the LNC. It's going to be rare, but there are going to be times when I'm going to be embroiled in an argument that will affect my impartiality. So I'm going to need somebody with a lot of those qualities as well, who can be impartial, who can run a meeting. It's important that the vice chair be a strong leader, just like the chair. I think we have a few running. Everyone I know who's running, I could work with just fine. I've spoken with a couple of them. Again, I haven't spoken with Joe either. He only recently announced, but I have with the others.
Angela's fairly public about this. Do you have a pick for vice chair?
No, I don't. Not at all. I'll work with, as it stands right now, with the declared candidates. I'll work with anybody who wins. I think it'll be fine.
Fair enough. I know that's a little bit. It's interesting that race is almost hot, or is significantly hotter than this one. Considering the fact that last time, like I don't think I knew who our vice chair was until I met him earlier last year. Like, he had been vice chair for over a year before I knew Ken's name, knew anything about him, even like. So it's interesting that there's so much like heat on that one race this year. Because I also couldn't tell you who the vice chair is of either of the other two parties.
Well, I think really that is something that Tony and I both get credit for, because we got out in front of all of the internal party election drama and said we were going to run clean campaigns, and we've been a really united front on that, and have kept a very good working relationship and friendship. So, naturally that means that the heat is going to come from other areas, which is something I'm not like sad about, at least from my personal perspective. But I do hope that everybody running in internal races will keep it clean,
Mm-hmm. So we have a question in here. Who's running for vice chair? I only know of Eric and Josh. Are there more that I'm missing other than the other one that you said?
Just Joe Hopman, to my knowledge. Okay. Granted, people sometimes announce, and if they're not really active on social media, then I don't know. So it's possible someone could be. I don't want to diss anyone, but those are the only three I know of.
Okay. Then yeah. So Cassie, that would be Josh Smith, Eric Rodsepp, and then you've said the name 4 times, and I'm still. Which was
Joe Hoffman.
Joe Hoffman. Okay, I don't know who that is. I'm just gonna be. All right. We have one more question from the chat from David Brady, is asking, what specific new demographics do you guys want to expand on or move into recruiting? Tony, you want to take this one first?
Sure. I would start with the largest segment of voters in the country, which is unaffiliated voters. Largely, we're starting to see voters move away from the two major parties, and a lot of times they're going to nothing. We are a great home for a lot of those voters, not all of them. We certainly need to put message forward, make sure we're promoting our principles and attracting those voters. But those voters who aren't already affiliated with one of the two major parties are certainly an early target. A second target would be those voters who are disillusioned with those parties, who are probably headed towards that middle pool anyway.
All right. Any specific targets for you, Angela?
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you, but with the caveat that we haven't done market research first. So we're going to do market research at the national level on a large scale, which we have not done in the past. That is happening. And we're going to break it down. We're going to do classic market segmentation, geographic, psychographic, and so on and so forth, to really identify exactly who we should be tailoring our message to. Generally speaking, we're going to go after working class people. much more aggressively than we have in the past. And we're going to do youth outreach. That's very important. That's actually something that I work with David Brady on. We're going to build up the youth caucus and start doing outreach to young people, because it is really critical that we get people even as early as junior high. Honestly, we need to be targeting junior high so that we can build libertarians. And we're also going to be doing much more Spanish language outreach, much more Spanish language. We're going to bring back whatever, I can't even remember the name of it, the Spanish language outreach show that was canceled at the national level. We're going to do that. We're going to have materials and several other like genuine outreach efforts.
David, if you're just like in the comments like tossing up softballs that you already know the answer to, I respect it.
Don't hit the player, hit the game.
Right. Foreign language outreach is, and especially Spanish, is something that I've always found like an interesting thing that like the Libertarian Party pretty much doesn't do. And like me being a part of the New York City Libertarian Party for 3.5 years, like there's like 15 languages spoken within our jurisdiction, and we didn't really do anything for any of them. And I tried at one point in time, because the New York City Board of Elections, after we got our ballot access in 2019, they put out new voter registration cards that had Libertarian on them. They only printed the new ones in English. So all the foreign language voter registration cards still didn't have the Libertarian Party or like multiple other parties that had gained ballot access. And so I was like, this is a fun thing that we can raise a stink about and call the Board of Elections racist, which is always a fun thing to get to call the government racist, especially in a super left city. And like I tried to kind of go on like a social media campaign. I like went into every single place that you could get voter registration cards in the city, like while going live on Facebook, like trying to like stir up something, and got absolutely no support from like the city party, which isn't unusual because the city party was garbage at the time. But just like almost no support from anywhere. And the couple of comments that I did actually get from libertarians was like, oh, this sounds like identity politics.
Okay, so they thought Spanish language outreach was identity politics?
Pretty much. They were claiming that my going after the Board of Elections for this reason was identity politics. Because,
well, I think that it's reasonable to attack the left from the left. And so if there are people who perceive Spanish language outreach as identity politics, okay, let's understand what we're trying to do here. One, it's not identity politics. But two, if a handful of people perceive it that way, I don't necessarily think there's an issue, because sometimes you have to shame people into doing the right thing. And those are people who are susceptible to being shamed. So we might as well do it. But I mean, living in California, like Spanish language, there's 65% of the people in my congressional district speak Spanish as their first language. So like, come on, let's get with the times here. Let's actually do outreach that reflects the real demographics of the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm knocking doors in Houston right now. So there's a lot of houses that I knock on and people cannot actually communicate with me. A lot of times it's not the person that actually lives there. It's like the babysitter or something like that. Because I'm knocking in like really rich neighborhoods at the moment where there's no one's actually home because they all work.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. Some of these are longer than I'm used to.
Yeah.
I very much like this question, though. If someone wanted to donate $100 to the LP related stuff, how much would you want them to donate to the national party, local party, national candidates, state candidates, etc.? Where do your priorities lie? And I'll let Angela, or yeah, I think it's your turn to go first. I've fully lost track, so I apologize if I'm.
Okay. First of all, Jonathan Howell for Congress. He's running against AOC. So let's give him a shout out here. I would look, I'm running for the national party. So when I'm chair, I'm going to want you to give me all 100 of those dollars. But in all honesty, I would really love that $100 to go to candidates. It's the local candidates. It's the candidates running expensive races like Jonathan's that need the money right now more than anybody. It's that's where our dollars are best spent. And I know it's very strange for me sitting here running for LNC chair, which is, by the way, a fundraising position. And when I'm LNC chair, I'm going to be asking you for your money to tell you to donate your monies to your to your local candidates. But that's really where your money is well spent, especially with Jonathan Howell for Congress.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like echo that shout out 100%. Angela, what do you think?
So the very easy way to break this down: get a national membership, $25 for the basic one. Get your state membership. In California, that's $25. Give the rest to a candidate. Give the rest specifically to a candidate that you're either very passionate about and close to, or who's running in a winnable race. So I would say $50 to your candidate, and I would hope that this isn't your last $100. You know, you got a little bit more. Also, I donated $20 to Jonathan last night, so
nice.
I feel like I might have inspired this question a little bit.
Yeah, Jonathan is running a very awesome campaign. I love that he kind of looks like a Green Party candidate to a Green Party candidate, and he looks like a Democrat to a Democrat, and he looks like a libertarian to a libertarian. It's kind of interesting how he's planned out his campaign in a way that it really depends on what lens you're looking through.
He should drop his donate link in your chat. Every
Yes.
candidate watching this should do that.
Do that. All right. How can we partner better with external organizations like 10th Amendment Center, Normal Firearms Policy Coalition, other similar groups like that, to help them succeed more legislatively, and then utilize their activists and their network to help us win campaigns?
Okay, so this is something that I'm already doing a little bit. A really easy thing that you can do is go to the 10th Amendment Center and look at their sample legislation, copy that, and try to get it passed. And more to the point, whenever there's a bill coming up that they're working on, you rally all your guys, rally all your troops, and get them to do that work, and get them to make small donations to the 10th Amendment Center too. You can do a $5 a month donation. Same with all of the other organizations, Firearms Policy Coalition. I like Gun Owners of America a lot better than the NRA, obviously. But whatever your choice of organization is, go for it. And at the national level, a really easy thing that we can do is just freaking retweet when they have a really good take. You don't even have to endorse it. You don't have to, you could just get that in people's vision. That's helpful.
I agree. Mr. D'Orazio?
So this is something I'm also doing in New York State. We do work with other organizations. We work with some of the 2A groups that are active up here. I'm also a bigger fan of GOA than the NRA, by the way. We're working with the Empire Center, which has a lot of legislation that is already written, tailored to New York State. Every state has something like this. Every state, and it's really important, especially for state parties, to get plugged in with whoever that organization is, and amplify what they're doing. It's really important that when we're working on issues, we not shy away from working with groups like Normal. If we're talking about marijuana legislation, which is becoming less and less of a big deal, or the Drug Policy Alliance, when we're talking about broader drug policy. We've also worked with other third parties, specifically on ballot access initiatives. The LPNY is co-plaintiff on a lawsuit with the Green Party of New York against the state to try to regain and retain our ballot access earned in 2018.
All right. And I just want to, since we talked about FPC and Owners of America, I know that my audience has a fairly large chunk in Indiana. If you guys are out there, the gun group to donate to at the moment is the National Association for Gun Rights. They are about to get constitutional carry passed in your state. So that's probably where your money's best going if you're an Indiana resident currently. This is probably the question that I'm the most passionate about myself, because I am stepping away mostly from the Libertarian Party to work more with groups like that. And, I want to see that be a like cooperative relationship, and not, because I think we can all kind of agree that the way it is right now, there's the Liberty Movement and then there's the Libertarian Party. And those are two different things. And the Venn diagram does overlap, but it's not very strongly. And the people that are working in these organizations don't vote Libertarian, and they definitely aren't active. And we don't support when they do things, and it's just it's silly. And then we don't. And I personally think that this is one of the main reasons why we have no good candidates when we're actually looking for races to run, that we need someone and we have no one. We should be able to pull activists out of groups like Normal. Like, again, to talk about Indiana, Will Henry, running for U.S. Senate, ran for lieutenant governor last time, was the chair of Indiana Normal. Like, he's an activist. He's a cannabis activist that then stepped into politics. Like, that's how this stuff works. And I really want to see those bridges get built a lot better, so that we can utilize that. Sorry. Okay. Slightly harder questions. As I already said, I love you guys both. But some questions have come up in comments, and I'm going to ask them anyway. So Angela, one of the biggest critiques that I've seen against the Mises Caucus is kind of its cult-like mentality. And I think we kind of saw that a lot with the vice chair race and how that went down, and kind of the split. How do you plan to make your term as LNC chair not be a cult leader position, but more of an elected position, and kind of work with everybody and try to, I don't know, dispel that a little bit?
Okay, so let me break it down. How do I, during my chair term, how do I work well with everyone else, right? And dispel any of the cult-like vibes that people get from the MC. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I think I work pretty well with everyone. You could look at the LA County XCOM, and it's about half Mises Caucus. We have zero fights. We have zero drama. We have really good trust and collaboration with the officers. And I think that that's really important. You have to keep your officers in the loop. Don't shoot from the hip. Don't make decisions without consulting them. And that really speaks volumes to the rest of the party when everybody at the top is united front. And we need to also make sure that we do assist candidates. There's this like misguided rumor that people in the Mises Caucus don't care about candidates, that all we care about is shit posting on Twitter.
Yeah.
But we have like a whole team dedicated to candidates. We do a lot of phone banking and text banking, not just for candidates within the same state, but like across state lines. There's a united front there. So putting that front and center is going to be really helpful. And then continuing to build relationships with people who are in the Mises Caucus, who are valuable workers, is really important. And also making sure that those people who are really skilled get placed on committees and are a part of the process. I think that there's going to be, like some screaming and people rage quitting and upset right after Reno. But I think that after they see about 6 months worth of work, they're going to feel maybe a little bit awkward about how good they feel about the party. And, my intent is to welcome them graciously back. No questions asked, not rake them over the coals. Let's just get to work.
I like that, especially that last bit. And I'll echo that bit about the misnomer of the Mises Caucus not caring about candidates. I don't understand that critique. I don't understand where people got that from. I don't understand where they saw that from. Like, I mean, most of your main people are candidates at the moment, or like really heavily supporting candidates. I don't get it. So if you're watching this and you still think that of the Mises Caucus, just throw it in the trash. It's not true. Mr. D'Orazio, some people see you as kind of a nice guy or possibly a yes man. How do you dispel that kind of a critique, and how do you plan on being a strong leader as the LNC chair?
I mean, first of all, I don't take that nice guy thing as a critique. I take it as a compliment. So thank you. I am a nice guy. I really am. I promise. But don't mistake kindness for weakness. Just because I'm nice and am not going to just, scream at people and be one of those people who is going to be sitting there constantly in screaming opposition. Don't think I'm going to waver on our principles. Don't think I'm going to waver on an orderly organization, an orderly and professional organization. I haven't in New York. I say that I brought the party back together, and I did, but that doesn't mean that we're without conflict. We're libertarians. We are a big tent. We always have conflict. And I am currently the first vice chair. Now, we talked about vice chairs earlier. And a lot of times, the chair has a particular idea of things that want to be done, and I don't always agree. And I will sometimes stand my ground. I won't do it angrily. I'll do it with principles, with facts. I'll do it quietly. I'm one of those who will speak softly and carry the big stick. But I won't do it disrespectfully. There's a way to bring respect. There's a way to bring conversation and still disagree and still stand your ground.
Fair enough. Daniel, in the comments, you're asking if I'm going to ask the Twitter questions. Apparently Twitter questions are not coming through, so if you could copy paste them into the YouTube chat, that would be wonderful, and I will ask them. But I'm not seeing any Twitter comments come through. All right, in my opinion, simplest but most important question, how do we increase fundraising? Angela.
Okay, there are a lot of things that we need to do. One is to improve messaging from the national party, because it's not very persuasive right now. I think it emanates low self-esteem, that we're not confident in what we're doing. And so that does not speak to donors. Another thing we need to do is implement strategic planning so that we can actually go to donors and say, this is our vision for the Libertarian Party. These are the goals that we're going to try to accomplish within 2 years. 4 years. This is our projection for where we'll be in 10 years. Will you donate, to help us achieve this vision? I don't think that we're doing a very good job of that right now, partially because we don't have a cohesive LNC, and there's a lot of chaos and dysfunction in our organization. So cleaning that stuff up is going to be very helpful to our donors.
All right, Tony?
Well, the first thing is I hope that the LP finds a great director of development, and if that position is still open when I become chair, that's going to be job one. I really hope it's not. We do need to improve messaging. We do need to improve messaging from the national level. We need to make sure that our message is clear. It's the message of liberty. It's the message of our principles. It's the message of our platform. The chair's job is a fundraising job. I'll be actively calling donors myself. I will be encouraging every member of the LNC to join me in calling donors themselves and actually getting people to give us money. In addition, growing the membership will organically grow fundraising. Every new member we get gives us $25 or more, hopefully or more, But that's the easiest way for us to grow our coffers.
Can I give a little bit of feedback on that, or rebuttal? Is that the right term?
Sure.
Sure.
I agree with Tony that we need to have the LNC making fundraising calls, but I think that it's a large group of people. And generally speaking, there are always going to be a couple of people who are uncomfortable making fundraising because it's not their strong suit. And that's something that I think our current vice chair, Ken Molman, has expressed as to why he doesn't want to be chair. So while, yeah, I would push for people to make fundraising calls, I would also be sensitive to the fact that there are a handful of people who are probably just not suited for it. And I want to make sure that they're not raked over the coals or called out, because that's something that former chairs have done. I think it'd be much better to find other ways for them to help with fundraising efforts, like getting them plugged into like making text or overseeing some of the fundraising calls, like the pitches and efforts, to try to get them involved so they don't feel left out, but to not put them in a position that where they're not suited for the job.
So if I may respond to that, two things. One, 100% agree with you on that. Not everybody is suited for fundraising. One of the problems in the Libertarian Party is that we all feel like we need to be able to do all the jobs. I've done fundraising, messaging, petitioning, tabling, IT, the list goes on. And I think most of the people who are workers in the LP are going to say that they've had similar experiences, and that's not necessarily a positive experience for most libertarians, including those on the LNC. Encouragement does not mean shaming. I'll encourage people to do that. Clearly, in a leadership role, it's important that we reach out to members and not be afraid to ask for a buck or two. But not everybody is suited for that, and nobody's going to be shamed if they don't feel comfortable doing that. Everybody who's running for LNC is running for LNC because they care about this party. Everybody who's running for LNC is running for LNC because they've done work for this party and feel like they can make a difference at the national level. Far be it for me to tell them that just because they can't make a difference in this way, that they can't make a difference in another way.
Yeah, because the other problem the LP has is most of us are autistic, and autistic people aren't usually the best at fundraising calls.
Well,
So, okay, we have some more questions coming in from the comments. I'll get to them before I ask my last one. This one, I didn't realize how many questions got put in that tweet. I was working all day, and I got home about 7 minutes before we started. So I am reading some of them right now, as well as the ones that are coming in the questions. I don't necessarily like the wording of this question, but it's been asked twice now, so I'm going to ask it. Do you think our statement of principles / platform is neutral on the subject of whether or not the party embraces private property versus socialism?
No, I don't. I think it's unambiguous. I think we clearly embrace private property and we reject socialism.
Mr. D'Orazio?
I agree. I believe we embrace private property and reject socialism. I think this question is probably trying to get us to talk about libertarian socialism, which isn't quite socialism.
Yeah, that's the reason I don't like the question, because anybody that understands left libertarianism knows that those two things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. But I appreciate your guys' answers and your honesty, and not trying to weasel your way into a left libertarian conversation.
But if we were, I would say that Gary Chartier is my favorite left libertarian, and I usually come pretty close to being in alignment with him on issues. Not everyone else, but I'll give him credit where credit is due.
Fair enough. Can you define bigotry? Tony.
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like there's some part of me that wants to go to the pornography definition. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. But if you go to Webster's, you're going to see something along the lines of, and I didn't commit this to memory, so forgive me. An irrational thought or idea about a group or a collective that is held by someone.
Okay, so my turn.
Yeah.
My answer is no. I can't actually define it because what I think in my head is not what I hear everybody say. So my definition in my head is not the Merriam-Webster's definition, and it's also not the definition of people in the party. So the Merriam-Webster's definition is a person who is obstinately or unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction, especially one who is prejudiced against or antagonistic towards a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. That is not, in my opinion, how that term is thrown around by anyone in the LP or people in mainstream regular politics either. So based on that, I don't know what to tell you.
Fair enough. I like that answer. Yeah, I think very few people could probably actually define it on command, and most definitely not the people that use it a lot. Is there any justifiable grounds to remove a party member? If so, what parameters and what should the process be to avoid abuse?
Okay, so there's no current way to do that at the national level right now. There are in most state parties, but there's not at the national level. I believe there is a bylaws amendment that's being worked on to change that, and it was made with one specific individual in mind, and that's Nathan Larson, who was convicted of pedophilia against a minor. And I don't believe that person was 16 or 17. I think we're talking a much younger person. And I do believe that that particular instance is grounds for removal from the National Libertarian Party. I don't think that infighting or mean tweets would rise to that occasion, but pedophile conviction, yeah, you gotta go. Now, I will also say that as chair, I don't get to kick someone out of the party. That's something the LNC does, and I have to run the meeting. So that's my role in that, by the way.
Mm-hmm. D'Orazio.
Fraud, theft from the party, violence or threats thereof. Those are the reasons. Pedophilia, in my opinion, by the way, falls under the violence portion. Just to be clear. And in New York, we've had to remove people for fraud.
4 or 5 at this point.
Yeah, we had to remove a few, and specifically, we had a problem in one of our counties where the county chair and secretary were misrepresenting themselves as, one, being from another county, and 2, having far more authority than they did in election law, and trying to steal, trying to get non-libertarians nominated as libertarians, and that was fraud. That was straight up fraud, and we removed them from the party for it. But we removed them from leadership positions. It's not like we could say you're not a libertarian anymore, although they also did leave the party and went to another party after we did that. They took their ball and went home. But those are the only reasons I would see with the ability to remove. And it's important to note that there is no mechanism for us to do that at a national level.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting you bring that up, Tony. We've also had to remove people in California for fraud, for misrepresenting information to donors under the context that the information they presented, they would get a large donation in return. And that really sucked. I wasn't on the XCOM when they were removed, but I do think their removal was right. I do think, and I'm curious what you think about this, I do think that due process is important when we're removing people. Even if we're removing them something they obviously did it, but I still think it's important for them to have their say.
Yeah. I agree completely. And for the ones that I just spoke of, we gave them plenty of notice. We invited them to have representation at our hearing. We invited them to come to the hearing. They declined to come to the hearing. They did send representation. They did send a statement that was expletive filled and entertaining, but
really entertaining.
it was well within their rights to do so. And but I agree, due process is necessary. I'm a firm believer in innocent until proven guilty. And even I think that's a trap that sometimes social media helps us amplify. Is we're just going to scream at each other and assume the worst, as opposed to sitting back and looking at facts and going through the process.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Some of these comments are really great. You guys are having an awesome debate, and then I'm just chuckling like a dumbass at the comments. That in exchange of New York and the removal of those people is what made me an anarchist instead of a libertarian, because I realized that even like if we put libertarians in office all over the place, if like every elected position in the entire country was held by libertarians, the country would still be a shit show because we're obnoxious. So we should probably just burn it down, not get us elected. Because we had 4 state committee meetings in the span of 10 weeks, because we had to give them notice and then meet and then it was ridiculous. What new technologies can the party use to achieve its goals or higher goals? Or it's a weird worded question. But how can we advance technology? Actually, this is something that I'm very intrigued about, and one of the reasons why I'm a fan of the other people that I've endorsed for Reno, specifically Tyler Smith and Todd Hagopian, because they are both talking a lot about technological advancements. So what kind of technologies would you guys want to bring into the party? Where would you guys want to put resources? I know, Tony, this is a little bit of probably a pet project for you. But Angela, you've got ideas, I know, in this category too. So please, who wants to go first?
The first thing I would put in place is an LMS, learning management system. It is beyond insane that our national party doesn't have one in place yet. I'm actually on the LNC's IS committee, and we brought a proposal to the December meeting for an LMS, a professional LMS, one that would be supported, one that would allow us to actually build and store institutional knowledge. And the budget wasn't there, so now we're going back to the drawing board and coming up with an open source solution. Not that open source is necessarily a bad thing, but in almost every case, our website, our CRM, now our LMS, we're gravitating towards open source solutions and not scalable professional solutions. I would like to see us look at scalable professional solutions for a few of these things, like an LMS, like a CRM.
Agreed.
Go for it. So we're going to do a learning management system so we can have online classes. We need to be better about taking cryptocurrency donations. That's really important to me. We do take Bitcoin at the national level. National LP does, but I think that we can expand that a little bit more. And I would also like to make it something that's implementable to state parties where it's legal to take cryptocurrency. California changed the law on us in 2018 because we have the worst government in the country. I guess Tony and I can have a debate on who's got a worse state later. So that's really sucky. And another thing that I'm really passionate about is changing our financial transaction service provider so that when we take donations, we get charged less money by the person who provides that service, so that we can implement more text message based campaigns for micro donations, which will also help us reach out better to young people. Fundraising is very important. We need to make calls to major donors, but we also need to be raking in $5 and $10 donations from people who are in college and sometimes even high school. And if we can get a better service provider, then that's going to happen. Because right now it's not financially feasible.
Dan Berman is in the chat saying, I'm still running QuickBooks 95 and I will die on this hill.
I mean, if you like to swing,
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Sorry, Dad. Yeah. I love that you guys both brought up a learning management system. That's big. Tony, your point about, so I kind of agree, but I'm going to push back a little bit about what you said about open source, because I think that there's a third option or an option that where we continue on some of this train, where we just build that better. We actually just invest into building things that we control and that we own and that we built, that is still open source and that other people can use. But because I'm not a fan of using mainstream platforms really for anything, right? Like this stream is more, we have almost twice as many people watching on Odysee as any other platform right now. Actually, like every other platform combined, we have twice as many people on Odysee, because mainstream things suck and they take us down. And especially, Angela, you're talking about payment processors. We're seeing how with GoFundMe right now, what that looks like. But we've been talking about that kind of stuff for a while. That was another big libertarian I told you so. I mean, shit, we all have friends, I think, at this point that can't use specific banks or specific like PayPal or Patreon or whatever because we've gotten canceled for this or that. I think that the LP, as much as I don't know if it's actually the LP's job to figure this out, or if this is something for one of those other outside organizations to do, but I think that getting us protected from that kind of stuff is a major thing, because if we actually become a force to be reckoned with, we're not going to be able to be taking payments online and donations and stuff for a whole lot longer.
So that's actually something that I'm thinking about, but I don't have that in my top like 3 or 4 things that we're going to do. And it's something that we talk about a lot in the Mises Caucus, is being cancel proof. So that's something that I hope that we would get into towards the end of my first term, or if I run again the second term. That also has to do with project management and CRM. So right now I don't have any plans to scrap the CRM and build something new, because that's something that state chairs have to give me a lot of input on, because that would be very disruptive. So we have to be mostly on the same page before we go forward with that. But going forward, any new technologies that we adopt are going to be cancel proof. And there are a lot of IT professionals in the party who can help with that. Tony's probably one of them, to identify platforms that are actually going to, work for us in the long term, where we're not going to get our assets stolen by the state or by corporations that are essentially co-opted by the state. And to provide some security too for state affiliates, because that's one of the reasons that the whole New Hampshire debacle happened. Like we've got to have better ways to go about our business so that people can feel secure and trust us, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the biggest disappointments for me of last year. Like the New Hampshire thing itself, like anyone that's been in the party longer than a decade or so has seen at least 7 or 8 state civil wars, most of which worse than that one. So that in and of itself wasn't I'm like, we can get over that, whatever. But watching this state after state after state pull out of the CRM system kind of broke my heart a little bit, because we were finally almost there. And now we're back down to only 2/3, half of the states are on board with the CRM now. Yeah, so 100% on board. Like, this is one of the things that I'm excited about either one of you being chair. I don't think anything like that is going to happen, and you guys will both be able to maintain the trust and the respect of your state chairs. And
let's pledge. I'm throwing Tony a curveball. Let's pledge live online not to steal party assets. I promise not to steal party assets.
That's it. No, of course not. You're putting me on the spot there.
Damn. We have Cassie in the comments saying the CRM is gold, and she is only at a county position, but she's using it, and she's actually one of the most badass county volunteers that we have that I know of in the party. I know I don't know everybody, but I'm gonna say that she's the best.
Great. Let's. Why does she think that Civi CRM is gold, or is she saying just CRM in general is gold? Because she's right about that. Customer relationship management is gold, especially in a fundraising organization. If she's doing something different with Civi that other affiliates would benefit from, let's get her to record a video, put it in our new LMS, and share it with everybody. And let's make a better CRM experience. And also, let's not steal party assets.
Yeah. Let's not steal party assets. How can the national party better assist affiliates? And I'll add to this question, how do we make it easier for affiliates to become affiliates?
Okay, so we can better assist our affiliates by cleaning up our act at the national level. So the way this works is, in the beginning, when everybody gets elected, we need to populate committees much faster. And we need to populate committees according to skill sets and spread skill sets out. That means that almost every committee needs a marketing person on there. Many of the committees, but not all of them, need an IT person. And everybody has to get on the same page and work together, decide what goal we're going to implement or what we're going to work towards, how we're going to implement it, what are our obstacles, roadblocks, and so on and so forth. And then we have to start pushing forward with that. And while that is happening, we have to communicate all that information to our state affiliates with something called internal marketing. And then you identify what states are not doing a good job of pushing that to their counties. And then we double down on that to communicate to those counties specifically so that everybody is getting what they need. Ballot access, affiliate support, and candidate support are three areas, for example, where the committee work overlaps. So those three committees need to actually be working closely together so that they don't duplicate work, because that's a waste of time. And so that they are modeling after each other in areas where they can be, so that they are delivering the best results possible to our state affiliates. Because a lot of that work that they do, we do it, like, for example, ballot access and candidate support. We're not necessarily thinking about transferring all of that work down to state affiliates. We're just thinking about giving it straight to candidates, but that's not really appropriate because that's not how we function in reality. I hope that answers that.
Tony?
A very similar answer. How many of us have heard from people in our state that they don't want to have anything to do with national because national is such a shit show? I hear it all the time.
I'm one of those people. If anybody that watches this show at any regularity knows how I feel about the LNC as a whole, it's not exactly pleasant.
There are a number of people who are wondering why I'm doing this. Because national is such a shit show. Why am I not focusing on the state?
It's more of a shit show.
Sorry. You're funny. We need good leaders at national to put our best foot forward. By electing me chair, I'm going to blow my own horn a little bit. We're going to have that. We're going to have leadership on the LNC who are going to be organized, who are going to be focused on getting candidates elected, winning elections, getting candidates on the ballot, on fundraising, on putting our principles in front. By focusing on these things, by coming at the Libertarian Party in a strategic manner, by putting strategy first, and coming up somewhat organized as opposed to the screening matches that we have seen a number of LNC meetings turn into. We're going to make national more attractive to the state affiliates.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I definitely, as someone that spent technically almost 4 years attempting to start a county affiliate and not succeeding in it because of, I mean, I only lived there for like the first year and the last year of that 4 years, but and in those 2 years between, someone else was the county contact and they were a psychopath, like legit. And literally scared everyone in the county that could have cared about libertarianism away, to the point where our only decent volunteer moved to entirely different city 3 hours away just to, well, not because of that reason at all, but for other reasons. But literally, like everyone that was a libertarian in the county vanished. So I came back to a shit show, and it's still not a county party. So yeah, there's anything to get that process a little bit smoother would be something that I would like to see.
Well, yeah, especially in New York, that's kind of a cumbersome process. When we wrote the process, we based it in election law. We've streamlined the process a little bit. Now that David isn't our county contact anymore, he can't benefit from our easier process. But Patricia is, and hopefully she'll be able to get it going pretty soon.
All right, guys, you have so many fantastic questions. David Brady asked them their favorite thing about Michael Malice. No. Actually, my last question is, what is your favorite thing about your opponent? Tony, go.
My favorite thing about Angela, I really appreciate all the activism, especially on the vaccine mandates that she's doing in LA County, and that she's attempting to get going in New York City as well, which she hasn't talked about all that much. That activism is admirable. I keep talking about how not everybody is good at everything. That's one of those things that I'm not good at, and I'm glad that we have a libertarian who is.
All right. I think I have to concur. That's probably my favorite thing too. You've been a badass with that.
Thank you, guys. We had a really good planning call on the New York initiative Tuesday, so that is coming along, and I'm drafting the first draft of the city charter amendment on my flight tonight if I can't sleep. Otherwise, I'll be finishing it tomorrow morning and sending it to some of your New York attorney members to review. My favorite thing about Tony is his ability to work well with other people and to stay above the conflict and drama, even when people are throwing shit at him. He's still really even keeled and doesn't sling mud back. And I think that that's something that we really need at the national level right now.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, tell everybody where they can find out more about your campaigns, donate to your campaigns, and any shout outs to your moms and your sisters and whoever. Angela, you want to go first?
Sure. So if you want to get my materials and resources and find out my convention schedule, you can go to angelamcardle.com. There are updates on the initiative there as well. If you want to support my efforts and support the work that I do with affiliate resource guides and so on and so forth, you can go to patreon.com/Angela McArdle. You can also subscribe to my Substack. Those are both great ways to support me financially.
All right. D'Orazio.
I'm Tony D'Orazio. Come to Tony4chair.com. That's Tony the number 4chair.com, which you can see nicely on that ticker. You can find out more about me. You can reach out to me if you want me to talk to your libertarian group, state affiliate, local affiliate, your mom's bake club. I have a mean recipe for banana bread. You can click on the little donate link on my page, on that page, and send me a buck or two so I can get to more state conventions. I'd really appreciate that. I'm on social media. I am Tony4LNC on Twitter, and I am Tony D'Orazio, Libertarian for LNC Chair on Facebook. I'm all over. I'm on all the socials, and if you want to reach out to me, please do.
All right. Yay, that transition worked well. Man, I'm still trying with the overlays thing. It's new. I tried it for the first time like earlier this week, and so this was fun. Guys, thank you so much. This was awesome. Angela, I hope that you have a great flight. And I'm glad that we were still able to do this. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. We are going to be back here. No shows next, or no, one more show until a break. So back here Monday, Will Henry. I already shouted him out earlier. So follow everything, and we'll catch you back here next time. Until then, keep up the fight.
Thanks.
Shut up and sit down.